Very good evening all and welcome back to the Premier League Roundup show right here on West Ham Unofficial. Hope you are all well. Before we get cracking, a few things that I need to say tonight. Firstly, the normal gang are with me. Josh, how are you?
Not too bad, how are you?
Yeah, all right. Sean, how are you, mate?
Really good, mate. We're ready for my holidays in a couple of days.
Oh, I've heard you're going away. Very good, very good. Well, Sean, you've declared the end of summer by putting on a hoodie tonight. Firstly,
I know it's a bit chilly. I was out in the garden. I thought I needed something a bit warmer.
Bit chilly. Right, a few things. Firstly, for the first time this season, all of our teams won this weekend. Get in there. There we go. So we're all happy. The second thing I need to say is, Sean, you're at the bottom of our fantasy league. What's going on? You've had a nightmare this week.
What? I'm at the very bottom. Am I? Or just the three of us?
You're at the bottom of just the three of us.
Okay. I made a few subs. I can't even remember. I did put Bernardo Silva in. Did he even play?
Yeah,
I don't know.
He didn't play.
I did. I had a little faff around when Haaland got injured. Not Haaland. De Bruyne got injured. I had a bit of a faff about of it, and I don't know. I'll have another little look later when I go away. Make sure I got my stars ready.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And just before we get cracking, the voting today has opened for the Football Content Awards. We're going to do more on that on another show, but it is the link is in the chat. The voting is open till the start of September. Now, I'm going to show you very quickly, Sean, I'm going to show you how easy it is to vote for me in this year's Football Content Awards. Here we go. So you go to Football Content Awards website, you scroll down to Best Young Content Creator, you type in West Ham Unofficial, because you know you all love me. You scroll down to the bottom, you agree the terms and conditions, and you vote. There we go. So more to come on that in a couple of shows' time. Firstly, let's see who is in the chat. A few of you in, a few of you in already. Usual suspect. Thanks for joining us, Robert, as well. I hope you are well. Calvert-Lewin has fractured his cheekbone. Well, it's gone from bad to worse for Everton. We'll get onto that a little bit later on. Terry, hope you well, mate. Even and all, everyone had an extra skip in their steps. I most certainly did. Had a cracking Sunday, didn't we all? Oh, well, Josh's granddad didn't have a very good Sunday afternoon, but we will get onto that a little bit later on. Thank you very much for you all for joining us. Right, we're going to get straight on into it. And Josh, I'll give the first game to you to stop Sean moaning for the first week about Sheffield United. Nottingham Forest 2, Sheffield United 1 on Friday Night Football.
Yeah, well, for some reason this wasn't on Sky, despite it being a Friday night game. I forgot why, but yeah, I did watch it on Match of the Day. I don't like Sheffield United had quite a few chances, to be fair. I mean, the club's just a mess. They sold the best two players. I think Ndiaye went to Marseille, who was the best player last year. And Sander Berge, a highly rated midfielder as well, who's had lots of top clubs linked with him, also went to Burnley. So he sold the two best players and haven't really replaced them. But you definitely give it a good go the other night. From what I saw, it's a cracking finish for the goal. And they had other chances. They looked a better team to me. As for Nottingham Forest, I think it also could be a long season for them. They got that early goal and you thought they were going to batter them, but Sheffield United responded really well, and obviously it was a late winner from Chris Wood, really good header. And I suppose that's what he's in the team for, probably one of the best headers of the ball. And when you're in a relegation scrap, that's all you need, really. So I think it's going to be a long season for both teams, especially Sheffield United. I just think everyone else is head and shoulders above them in terms of quality, especially after losing the two best players. But they definitely give it a good go the other night. But I think they'll definitely be in trouble. And Forest too, they brought, I think, Alanga and Matt Turner from Arsenal. And there's talks that they could be getting Dean Henderson in as well for Man United. And I think that's about it, really. I think there's still rumours that Brennan Johnson, who's definitely the best player, looks like he could be going to Chelsea now. There's been lots of interest. I think Villa have been linked with him as well. And they also look like they're under financial fair play, in trouble for that now as well. So I think they'll just about have enough, but I think it could be a long season for both.
Yeah, I think Forest will be okay. I think they've got enough quality there to scrape through. Again, Sheffield United. I mean, whenever I've spoken about Sheffield United, I take it back to the fact they left their they let their striker go before the Premier League season started, which was completely beyond me. Billy Sharp, a guy that would have probably scored them 8 to 10 goals this season at the very least, and they decided to not renew his contract. I don't think there's many me that don't think Sheffield United will struggle this year. I haven't watched a minute of them so far, but they haven't had a very good start, and I don't think it'll get too much better. Forest, for me, I think they'll have just enough to just stay above that line for me. Right, let's see what else you guys are saying. Lawrence, thanks for joining us. I hope you're well. Robert, thank you very much indeed. Jimmy says, I'm happy because Brentford thrashed Fulham 3-0. Come on, your bees. Good luck for the rest of the season from a Brentford supporter. Thank you very much. And that is what we will come on to next. And Sean, I'll hand it over to you. Fulham 0, Brentford 3. Two sides of similar sort of ability last year, but Brentford, they've had a good start.
Yeah, this is one of those. Well, they call it's a derby, and if you support even easy, but I didn't even know this derby even existed until recently. To be honest, I don't know where it comes. I know there's sort of similar parts of the capital. Well, it's brilliant away win. I looked at the Fulham side because clubs like Fulham, when in the transfer window, they can probably do business, and you wouldn't even have a clue what they're doing because you don't really come across them on any news channels or anything. And I looked at some of the players they got, and I thought, when did they get him? When did they get him? And then I looked at their starting 11, obviously without Mitrovic. I think he's going to Saudi. Is he gone yet?
He's gone.
I think the starting 11 he put out, I thought it very weak. And a lot of the, just out of nowhere, really. I think Paulinho was on the subs bench. Just last year, I liked him quite a lot. I raised that quite a few times. When I looked at it today, yesterday, the front three, I think they're all British. One, Harry Wilson, they've got up front. Harry Wilson. Decadova Reed. For the first time, well, he's only been up the second season. I looked at it and I thought that looks almost like a championship 11 right there. And all it is taking 2 or 3 players out your team. On the bench, he had the lad. I'm rubbish with names today. They had the lad that Tottenham had on loan. I remember I told you when you played against him, I told you he couldn't run. I've forgotten his name.
I've forgotten his name.
He's a Brazilian but can't run. I've forgotten his name. He's that memorable. But yeah, I looked at their starting 11 and it just looked, just didn't look Premier League standard.
No.
And obviously they did get a lucky win at Everton on the first game of the season. Because I listened to Dicey the other day with the Everton game saying how good they were against Fulham but couldn't get the goal. And it was a contrast this week versus Villa. So Fulham got that fortunate win and probably back down the reality against Brentford, who did okay against my lot the first game of the season. But yeah, if you call it, here's a derby, lose at home in the derby 3-0, that's a painful one, isn't it, for the fans? But yeah, the team, and I think this probably wouldn't shock me if the manager ends up walking at some point. I know he was linked to a Saudi side as well, and Silva. I don't know who's going to be going in there, but yeah, I did not look at the starting 11 they put out at all.
Yeah, I think it could be a turbulent campaign for Fulham, and the second season syndrome might just kick in for them in West London. I'm not sure, but yeah, I definitely don't think they'll be in and around where they were last year. And Brentford impressed me last week against Spurs, and where they've gone and they've gone and won 3-0 in a derby, which you cannot complain about at all. Let's move up to Anfield, and Josh, I will come to you. Liverpool 3, Bournemouth 1. From a Bournemouth perspective, they didn't lose 9-0 this time. There's plenty to discuss here. A red card that I didn't think was a red card, a penalty that I didn't think was a penalty. But apart from that, Liverpool, in the end, they got the job done.
Yeah, to a few of my Liverpool mates who went to the game, and they said that first 20 minutes is one of the worst first 20 minutes that they've seen Liverpool play. Apparently they were all over the place, but then after that, they really turned it on. As for the penalty, I thought it was really harsh. You could see he's looking for it. I think there was a slight bit of contact on Soboslai or whatever his name is, but you could see the way he went down was just really theatrical, and to tell he was looking for it. Then the McAllister red card, I'm almost not sure on that. Yes, it was high, but I don't think it means to be reckless, and I think they got that one wrong as well. But at the time, Liverpool had a dodgy one go against them. But yeah, also the penalty was really lucky as well, because Salah missed it again, it was saved, and then he got the rebound in, which was really lucky, typical Liverpool. But yeah, I think they played quite well, and obviously went down to 10 men with half an hour to go and still managed to see out the game with 3-1. So yeah, it was much more of a convincing performance from Liverpool, obviously after last week. against Chelsea, that second half was pretty concerning. But yeah, I think they needed a good home win, so they could after that last week's performance. But as for Bournemouth, I think again a bit like Forest, I think they might just about have enough, but I think it could be another long old season for them. The manager they've brought in is meant to be really highly rated, brought in from Spain, got a few promotions, but it's a big risk sacking Gary O'Neill after what he done last season, and then bringing his firm into a big gamble. But if it pays off, then fair play to them. But I think it could be a long old season for them as well.
Yeah, I agree. Just very quickly, Sean, the penalty, I've seen some overreactions to it. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it was a penalty, but he left his leg there to almost give the referee an excuse to give a penalty. I've seen some overreactions saying it's the worst VAR decision ever. I think that's a bit harsh on the referees. But do you agree with? Have you got your rule book out and seen anything otherwise, Sean, or not?
I think it was bad as that one that United got away with the other night.
Really?
I think it was really, really bad. I think did I tag you in on Twitter straight after, didn't I? Yeah. And I know that you have the ref watch, don't you, on Monday morning as he goes through them all, and he nearly laughed. It really bad. Like he said, it might have brushed his shin. If a player dives that much, I think that's your clue right there. If you make that much of a meal of it, then you don't deserve the penalty. I don't think it was a foul. It wouldn't have been a foul anywhere else on the pitch. It's not been a good start. There have been many bad VAR decisions, but there's been a few too many already. But that's a shocker. That's as bad as the Onana one against Wolves, in my opinion. I thought it was really poor.
So that's two weekends and two very bad decisions that have once again put the referees in the limelight for all the wrong reasons. Right, we will move up to Molineux, where it's a disastrous afternoon for a Wolves side that showed hope against Manchester United last Monday night, and consecutive 4-1 victories for the Seasiders. They've got us next. That's going to be fun. Sean, over to you. Wolves 1, Brighton 4.
Well, from what I've heard about this game, Wolves weren't that bad, but again, they just couldn't finish. Like against United, they were a better side, couldn't finish. Against Brighton, if you play a bit open, they're going to take you apart. I think they've had, what did I see? They had more shots on goal, more shots on target than any team in the league so far. Obviously, scored 4 both games, as you say. It's probably not that surprising. But Wolves, I thought they'd be a lot worse than this. They were just about my tip to take the third relegation spot. But finishing is name in the game at the end of the day. If you're gonna have 6-7 good chances and struggle to get many on target, they're the teams that you should go down, because goal scorers keep you up. Brighton just keep going, don't they? They get rid of a player. I think we've seen today they're linked to a couple of players as a left back and a centre. I've never heard of any of them. Usually they're from some South American side that you see in a World Cup once every 20 years, something like that. You wouldn't be shocked if they turn into any of these players into another £100 million player, because it's just what they do. They got Europe to contend to, obviously Brighton. So that's going to be very different, and the squad's probably not the biggest. But it's a very, very good start for Brighton. That's all you can say. But really, Wolves they just need a couple of goals, and they got the talent through the midfield. I don't think they're bad at all through the midfield. They look very good, some of the skillful players against United. But yeah, as I said at the beginning, it's, goal scoring is the name of the game, and you go down if you don't put the ball in the net.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I think, unless you've got that goal scorer there, then you will struggle. And I think Wolves will. Let's move on to, actually, we had 2 evening games on Saturday, and I haven't quite worked it out, so we're going to go to 8 o'clock before 5:30. Firstly, let's go to 8 o'clock. Let's go to the Etihad. Manchester City 1, Newcastle 0. I'm going to be honest, Josh. I got myself set up for this game thinking, right, this is going to be an absolute cracker. I was a little bit underwhelmed, to be honest with you. I didn't think the game was as good as it probably looked on paper.
Yeah, just same old City, really. Just so boring to watch. They've created like a new play style. It's boring. It always just used to be the route one who's bored, it's boring. But Pep is created a new whole new system that is just even more boring to watch. To just pass, and eventually leads to goals that Alvarez he can't even get in at the side most of the time. But he's just absolutely class player. He'd probably get in any other team in the league side easily. He's just quality. Obviously, he got the goal as well the other day. Yeah, I thought Newcastle gave it a good go second half as well. They were on top. I think it was just poor decision making in the final third. Miggy Almer on a few times. There's one with Trippier, and it came to nothing. A few times like that, but it's poor decision making which cost them. I think they're definitely in the game. Newcastle they held their own for most of it. I think they gave them the best game they could. Really, I think the first half wasn't great. But second half, you definitely can't say they didn't give it a go. They come out well, but they arguably had the better chances second half. But Man City just ruthless, aren't they? Newcastle probably had the better chances, but when City do get the chances, they'll just take them, and they're always going to dominate the ball. You know that. So yeah, I think they're just going to walk the league again this year. But as for Newcastle, people think they're going to drop off. Yeah, I think they will have a little drop off. I still think that they'll get top 6. I just think the team spirit's so good. They've got quite a lot of quality in the team. The strength and depth is great, but I just still think they'll be good enough to get the top 6. And yeah, I think it'll be a good season for them still.
Yeah. I almost sort of sat watching this game on the 50th or 60th minute with Man City 1-0 up, hoping Newcastle to score to just sort of spark it into life a little bit. Because once he scored, it Newcastle gave it a go. Don't get me wrong, but they didn't quite have that quality to get a goal to sort of reignite the game again. And it just they just turned into a little bit of a drag in the end, which in a way surprised me and disappointed me. We will go back in time. Before we do, let's just take some comments very quickly. Just Photo J, thank you very much. Indeed, everybody having a little chat to each other. That is good. Come on then, Sean, let's move over to you. I'm sure you'll be happy about this one. Spurs 2, Manchester United 0. I watched this and I know you'll give Spurs credit, Sean. Don't get me wrong. You deserve to, but United were dreadful.
Yeah, probably an even. To be honest, I think Tottenham are probably a little bit ahead of schedule. I think I said a few times of slow starts. What I expected for us to be. Thought we were very good against Brentford in patches. Thought the first half against United was quite even. I thought you can see how Tottenham are going to play. We're going to be a bit open. We're learning the new system. We're going to take risks, especially coming out from the back. When it clicks, it looks like Brazil. If it goes wrong, it looks awful. But that's going to be the way. First half was quite even, I thought. I know United have had a cry about the penalty decision, but apparently the law says when it's that close, that hard, and your arm sort of it wasn't in that enough of an unnatural position to give it, then that's the law at the moment. I think the main thing what they're having a cry about is there was one last weekend. Was it Brighton? It
was the Brighton. Was it Lewis Dunk, I think?
That's it, yeah. So they were given a penalty, but they confirmed that was the wrong decision. So this was the right decision. I know it's hard, but we got to be a bit mature about these things. And just because one was wrong last week, there's not an argument there. Do you know what I mean? If the decision's right, it's right. You can't go comparing it to other decisions because that's different altogether. But second half, we come out and I thought we just turned the cogs an extra couple and I thought we then blew them away. I think our strongest area in the field all season is going to be our centre midfield. And both games this season, we've completely dominated the centre midfield. I think probably the top 2 or 3 in the man of the match listings in both games have been our centre midfielders. For Basuma, awesome again. Maddison, he might be injured now, but he's been quality. Obviously, we rotated Skip out and brought in Pape Sarr, and I thought he was probably one of the best players in the field as well. So he rotated the right back. Emerson Royal scored against Brentford, a good game. This horses for courses. He then thinks, right, need a bit more pace. Brought in Porro. It's been a very good start. Like I said, I expected a slower start. I thought we'd definitely concede against United. So yeah, I was overjoyed with the win, really. I thought we played very well, definitely deserved it. Enjoyable football, which is also key as a fan. You got to enjoy the football. You can't. We've had 2 of the best managers in the modern era managing us who play negative football, and they've had relative success doing so as well. The Champions League, 4th, 5th in the league, both of them got that. but a lot of the fan base still weren't keen on it. Do you know what I mean? Because it was just not there. I don't know if you probably don't study the Tottenham very often, but the players' faces, they look so happy to be there. Do you know what I mean? The comments coming out of the club, is a buzz about it. Yeah, I'm really happy. We've got a nice little run of games coming up where I don't want to tempt fate. We could get a nice little points tally up together. As for United, it's not been a great start. Obviously, this Mason Greenwood thing's come to a head today. They're poor against Wolves. They're crying about the decision, like Onana and Ten Hag said it wasn't a penalty last week. This week they're crying with Fernandes that they should have had one, which they've been told they're wrong to do that. Gary Neville still moaning they want to spend more money on the midfield, even though the midfield costs about 250 million at the weekend. It's not a good start for United. They've just spent 70 million on a striker no one heard of 6 weeks ago. So I'm not saying they're going to fall away and be awful, but the club's not in the best position in the world. Do you know what I mean? When I said about smiles on faces at Tottenham at the moment, buzzing, I'm not seeing that on the United field at all.
It looks really flat, and the Roy Keane sort of comment made me laugh about United being the new Spurs, and I think they are in a mess there, and Spurs completely dominated that game and could have scored another couple in that second half. They were and there was no response from United. There wasn't no urgency, there wasn't no threat.
I did see one of the reasons that. It's easy to when the big clubs lose. It's easy to just tear them a new one. But the reality was, I've seen some running stats, so like sprints, jogs, and Tottenham just not only outdid them with technical ability, they outrun them as well. Do you know what I mean? So that's.
If I ask Josh, do you think this early on in the season, if you were a United fan, do you think it's too early to worry, or if you were a United fan after watching these two games, would you be fearful?
Well, I would definitely be concerned, because really they should have 1 point on the board from the first two games, because obviously that Onana penalty season was just completely ridiculous. It's just big team bias really has to stop. It's just ridiculous really, and Wolves are by far the better side on Monday night, and Wolves, who basically everyone is saying they're going to go down, like they're not a great side, and they probably should have won against Man United. And obviously a poor performance against Spurs the weekend, so I'd definitely be concerned why they brought that Højlund in. I'm really not sure if it's more like 40 million, then fair enough, but you got 80 and 30 or something like that in Serie A. How do you expect him to be the main man in the Premier League? I don't see how it's going to work. He should have gone all out and tried to someone like Osimhen or Kane, but no, it's not looking good for them. And I would definitely be concerned.
Yeah, Kent help you well, mate. He says United are missing a CDM with an engine. I think Casemiro looked way out of his depth. Mason Mount is still a signing that absolutely bemuses me by the minute, if I'm honest. And I think that whole midfield is in a complete mess. You've got Fernandes moaning about anything and everything he possibly can, as per usual. And I think there's big problems there for United. And has this Ten Hag got an answer? This is the first time he's been probably tested, because as Josh said, they should be 2 games 1 point, if we're being fair about it, really, and they've been annihilated in both games. So for me, I think if I was a United fan, I'd be concerned and I'd be wanting some money to be spent. Otherwise, I've got a feeling the Norwich City Scars may be making an appearance in the next month or two from a United perspective. The manager is on borrowed time, so as usual suspect, they've looked off of the pace. Mount is a jack of all trades, master.
One of the things with United at the moment, I think they're putting a lot of square pegs in round holes a little bit.
Yeah, I agree.
They haven't got. I know Rashford had that little purple patch last season. What's he been in the Premier League now? 7-8 seasons, whatever. I've never thought he's a centre forward. He's just not. So then you've got a front three who sort of want to do the same thing. Mm-hmm. Like, do you know what I mean? Whether it's Garnacho or Sancho or Anthony,
they're all very similar.
They're similar. And then you've got Casemiro, who probably is a very good CDM, but you're not going to get a lot of movement out of him.
No.
And then you've got Mount and Fernandes in front of him, and those two, bear in mind, they in the past at Chelsea, you know, they've both sort of played further forward, like in almost as one of the wingers cutting in, and then a lot of awkward sort of positioning at the moment. And like I said, the Tottenham centre midfield, that's one of our strongest areas. Our movement, our quality on the ball. We just sort of danced around. Before there was a 20-minute spell where Basuma and Maddison were just sort of dancing around and almost taking the mick a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It did get
One
to
thing
that
I will say is I'm glad we ain't playing you till December, because you rip us a new one at the moment. So I'm very glad we aren't playing you till December. But let's move on to Villa, shall we? Aston Villa 4, Everton 0. Josh, of course, I will come to you. Well, a tale of two tales in the last 2 weeks. What a roller coaster for you, Villa fans.
Yeah, it's just mental how quick you can things can change in a week. I didn't think we'd be doing at the start of the game, but I didn't think they'd be that bad, and I didn't think we'd win by this many. I definitely think they made us look a lot better than we were. I don't really think we ever had to get out of second gear. To be honest, I think we could have had much more goals if we wouldn't have, like, Emery just tried to take this thing out of the game and just keep the ball. But if we wanted to, I think it could have been 6 or 7. We also had a lot more chances, like clear-cut chances. If it weren't for Pickford, it also could have been 6 or 7. I just think we absolutely ripped them apart. They were just really poor, though. I don't think we can get carried away. I thought after last week, Everton played really well against Fulham at home. They were definitely better side. They should have won. It was a bit like the United Wolves game. They had so many chances, but they just couldn't find the back of the net. And I was a bit nervous at the start, because I thought if they played like they did last week, then they might have had a chance against us. But no, I just got real concerns for that club, to be honest, because it's been 2 years in a row where we just stayed up by the skin of the teeth, and even if you do that again this year, that can't keep happening. What's the point in that? Every year just doing that and putting the fans through and thinking they're going to go down, just scraping it on the last day. I just might as well go down and rebuild and see if they can come back up. At least there'll probably be drastic changes to the club and they get a new team. It's no point just doing that. They need, at some point, you've got to kick on and get some stability. But I just can't see it after that performance. I mean, they're a team who've been absolutely battered by Newcastle last week. And I know Newcastle were a good start, but absolutely ripped apart. And it could have been more than 5 last week. And we battered them like that. Should be really concerned if you're an Everton fan. But as for Villa, we were clinical. I think a few of our goals come from mistakes. Like, I think Ashley Young still thought he was in a Villa shirt for that 4th goal. He just threw it straight to Duran, really. I think Keane maybe could have got there if he was a bit quicker, but I think a bit of a short throw, like, and a very good finish from the young lad as well. It's first goal for Villa, so that was good to see. And then, you must be bad when Leon Bailey scores against you. Sounds quite harsh, but he's just been appalling for Villa since his time since he signed. But no, he did play well yesterday, and it should be something even more to be concerned about if you're an Everton supporter. But no, I think we can't get carried away, because they made us look like Barcelona, really. We were just knocking it about and playing some really good stuff. But I'm still worried about the high line. I don't think Konza, Torres or Carlos, and definitely not Chambers, were look as quick as Mings. And I think when we play Liverpool in a few weeks, or any bigger side, I think it still could be exposed. But yeah, that's definitely a much more convincing performance than last week. And hopefully, I think Hibs in the week now on our first European game away from home, and then Burnley away on Sunday. So I'd like to think it'll be 2 wins, but yeah, just never know. Burnley are a good side, and Hibs, they'll be up for it, and they could cause an upset. So yeah, it's a very convincing performance, but I definitely think Everton made us look a lot better than we were.
Sean Dyche has not had a very good start to the season at Everton. As they've been pretty poor. And well, honestly, Josh, I hope you win the Conference League as long as we don't drop back down into it and become the first club to defend the mighty Europa Conference League trophy this year, to the delight of the man below me.
Where's the final this year?
I don't know. The
Athens, I
I'll
think.
tell you what. I'll check. The Europa League finals at Dublin.
It's in
That's what we're
Athens,
all
I think,
hoping
in
for.
Greece.
It's in Athens. Athens, lovely. I'd prefer
Yeah.
us to get to. I prefer us to get to the Europa League final and for it to be in Dublin. That would be perfect.
Is that in Croke Park, or do you know?
I think so. I don't know. No idea. Dublin. There can't be that many big stadiums in Dublin. Surely this.
I know. I've had a mind blank. Yeah, carry on.
Yeah, we'll carry on. Kent says Villa will finish top 8 in my opinion, and they will win the Conference League. Watkins is in my FPL team for the score 4 and he gets an assist. He's on my bench, I think. Grandad is in a period of silence. Not a good weekend for you. Everton, Luton, and Sheffield United for relegation, says Kent. Sharky says Conference League. You say now that is a proper European competition. It most certainly is. Right then, let's move on to what was a magnificent afternoon in East London. I know Sean watched this beaming with joy, well, I can't say I expected it. I thought this had a 1-1 draw written all over it. I mean, I went through that Chelsea team and bench live on the build-up show, and I was a bit lost for words because I didn't know half the names there. I was like, what the hell is going on here? And that went onto the pitch, in my opinion. That sort of idea went onto the pitch because it was 11 footballers chucked on a pitch. And I tell you what, if you take Sterling out of that side, I said this on the Monday morning show this morning, if you take Sterling out of that side, Chelsea were absolutely awful. And we gave them so many opportunities to get back into that game. With a geezer sent off stupidly with half an hour to go. So we had half an hour with 10 men. We gave them a penalty. Right. I just cannot understand. Yes, we were incredibly fortunate to win that match. If it happened again, they probably score that goal just before half time and they roll us over 3-1. But having said that, that didn't happen. Chelsea were poor. And we capitalised on it in the end. Mikel Antonio, boy, I don't think I've ever seen that from him before. It's a very, very good through ball from James Ward-Prowse straight to him. He gets past a couple of defenders I've never heard of, and he bangs it into that corner. Clinical, and hopefully that can give him confidence. James Ward-Prowse is giving what we expected. He had two corners in the first 7 minutes, both of them bang on the money. Lovely. Really nice to see. That's going to get us out of jail on a number of occasions this season. Set pieces will be our saviour once again. And I mean, from Moyes' perspective, it worked out perfectly. Score early, yes, contain a bit of pressure, maybe concede one, get one on the break, and then finish things off with a penalty in the last minute of the game with Lucas Paqueta. He was the only man that was going to take that penalty. He took the ball off Bowen and said, "This is mine." And fair play to him because he's obviously had quite a difficult week. He's had a load of accusations shoved at him. We don't know whether they're true or false. And he responded, and he didn't look like a geezer that wants to leave this football club anytime soon. That is for sure. Let's take some of your comments and see. It's the Aviva Stadium in Dublin, if you know what that is, Sean.
Is that Croke Park was sponsored bolted on? I can't remember.
Is it? Oh, I don't know.
I know they got one stadium where they only play like Gaelic football out, and I can't remember. Yeah. That might be Croke Park.
Maybe.
That's
we'll
huge,
see.
that one.
We'll see. Right then, Sean, did you enjoy watching West Ham?
Oh, is it my turn now, is it?
30 seconds each. Right, you go and then Josh can go. 30 seconds.
I think you nailed it with Chelsea, but I just listened to your mate Mike Hatcher's video on Facebook, and fair play to him, look on his face summed up what I'm going to say, really. I thought you're very fortunate to go in probably 3-0 down at half time. I honestly thought. I was half expecting your first goal to maybe be disallowed as well.
Why?
Because he did push Gallagher and very slightly.
When?
But when he jumped up for the header.
Did he?
But the fact that he gained an advantage before scoring it, I thought they might have looked at it. It was only a slight thing, but just enough to move him forward. It did happen, but I'm surprised. Obviously, you got away with the penalty when he was about a hairline offside, didn't you? So you were sort of getting away with these like fine margin things, which it happens in football. You've got to take these little fine margins when it happens. Obviously, there's nearly had the penalty retaken, didn't they? Because of Souček encroaching and all that. So little things sort of went your way, but that happens. But I agree with Chelsea. Sterling was the only player that looked like anything. I was thinking about Chelsea. I said last week it looked like a team just thrown together. When we said about Mason Mount, and obviously they've lost Ziyech and they've lost Havertz to Arsenal. The team looks like they lack a player like them, just one that can create a little bit, because they kept just playing that same straight through ball to that. Was it Jackson up front?
Yeah,
it was the same ball every time. That's where he was just offside when he did it again. But on West Ham, that's why I go back to what Mike said. For how long are you going to be happy winning but being so negative and poor? I looked at Mike's face and I thought straight away that's what he's thinking, because in the 2 games you've passed the ball less than any team in the league. The only teams below you are the teams that have played once. Do you know what I mean? I know football's not, possession doesn't win games. I know, I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to say it is. Goals win games. Oh no, that's true. However, as fans of the football team, and I don't think the sending off really changed the possession much yesterday, because you're parking the bus anyway, and you're going to bring on Alvarez before the man was sent off. So you're just as fans, wins are brilliant, but for how long can you put up with such lack of interest of having the football, really? And that's all I can put it down to. I don't know if it reaches a point. I think did I say last week? You can park the bus, not care about having the ball, be mainly off the ball football team, whilst you're picking up points. I think as soon as you don't start winning, the crowd could turn. If you go in 2-0 down yesterday at half time, which could have happened, or 2-1, say you don't think that was, not saying I did think that was should have been disallowed the first. I said I'm surprised I didn't look at it. I just wonder with West Ham, because you look just more and more and more negative every week. I think Bournemouth had 62% possession at Bournemouth yesterday. West Ham had 24% possession at home. The win's brilliant, but for how long as fans will you just sort of enjoy it?
I think you hit the nail on the head, Liz, until we stop winning, and until we get to a stage where we aren't winning games, and I don't think any decision will be made until at least October. Go on, hang on 2 seconds. Go on.
A worry, Jake, as well, a little bit, is if the manager, if the reputation gets around, obviously everyone knows he's very negative, but when you get like a little star player like Paqueta, right? I think someone put a post on the Facebook about him as well. Players like him don't want to be in a football team where they're not getting much of the ball. And I know Ben Rama's had a bad start to the season. He's another footballer who wants to be on the ball.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it's a brilliant win. I'm no lover of Chelsea by a long stretch, so I'm not digging West Ham out here at all. And I quite enjoy watching them suffer. But you can only cheer poor football for so long, really. And you getting more Prowse tells me you're going to be more dependent on dead balls, like you maybe were 2 seasons ago a little bit. Brilliant goal by Antonio. He hit it like a rocket. I can't fault that at all. But I just wonder with fans, like I said, Mike goes to a lot of games. I looked at his face. He said he watched the game back after he come back. It's just a bit of a slog, isn't it? So, I know.
Josh, did you watch the game? And if you did, what did you make of it and the result before we wrap things up? Oh, you there? We can't hear you.
We were on our way home from the match, the Villa game, so I couldn't watch it. But I have seen highlights.
Yeah, go on, carry on.
Can you hear me again?
Yeah, it's fine. Go on, far away.
Oh, we were on our way home from. We were on our way home from the Villa game, so we couldn't watch the West Ham game, but I did see the highlights, and I heard someone on Talk Sport on the way home as well saying that the football wasn't great, and when West Ham are winning and the football's not like that, the fans won't mind it. But when you do get beat and the football is like that bad in the ways, that's when the fans will start to turn. There has to be a point where you've got to look at his future. But I think when you're winning, I wouldn't care how you win as long as you win, like what type of football you play. As long as you're winning games, I wouldn't mind. But if they start like getting poor results, playing that way, then that's when they could really start to turn on Moyes again. But I think as long as you're winning, no matter how much the ball you have, no what the style of play is, I wouldn't care as long as you win a game of football.
Yeah, I do agree. We will leave it there for Josh and Sean. Thank you very much indeed for joining me. Sean, I do apologise. I've let you miss 10 minutes of watching Arsenal, so you can go and watch Arsenal now.
I won't bother, mate. Celebs Go Dating's coming on in about half an hour. I'll have to watch that.
Oh my God. Thank you very much indeed, everyone, for watching. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to West Ham Official. Vote for us in the Football Content Awards Best Young Content Creator category. West Ham Official, you know what to do. More coming very shortly on that. We've got Brighton next weekend. That's going to end well, isn't it? From me, come on, you Irons. Josh, Sean, pleasure as always. Thank you very much for joining me. Sean, have a fantastic holiday. I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, I'll be about, not long.
Good stuff. And Josh, I believe I'll see you in a couple of days' time. Until then, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.